I'm starting to record now. I'm just gonna start right now. So what we're gonna do, I had a whiteboard to show you guys something else, but I'm gonna start with this board, which is gonna be kind of talking about when to dribble, when not to dribble. So it's important that we kind of share these moments. There's some concerns and questions came from players. In the setup, obviously there's a couple scenarios I'm gonna be showing you guys. What's important is recognizing the space. So if there is a pressure cover situation going on in here, and this player obviously sees that there's a pressure cover here, and then he sees the space in front of this player. So a lot of times we get the ball and we try to open it right away, even though this player is on this player, because we just got kind of get used to the idea of opening the game right away, which is a great habit. But if we open the game from, let's just say, a pass came to this player sees that there's a pressure cover here, so pass the ball to this player. This is keeping a lot of space in this gap. There is absolutely no reason for you to pass that ball unless it's going to create space for the next player. Okay, so this is a problem for a lot of our players. So it would be different if this is the situation. Now the space is in front of this player, right? So when we open the play, pass, and then we see that open space, I would actually pass it in front of him so we can lead him to the attack. That's a different scenario, right? But in this case, when we get the ball, we open the game, and we got used to opening the game, which is great. I love that, guys. But recognize that we have space in front of you and use that space. Just go with it. So that's going to help you guys out with the with messing up the defense's balance. For example, so if this player is dribbling into the space, always the first player is going to be stepping is this player, correct? So that's going to open up a lot of space here. It's going to open up through ball. It's going to open up a diagonal run or diagonal run for this player, because now if the ball comes here, this guy is not going to deal with this guy. This space that this defender was covering is now opened up. So either of the red guy here or the red guy here, they can both use that space that is created by you just moving with the ball. So dribbling into space is gonna mess up the defense's shape. You're gonna completely mess him up. So we want to make sure that you guys continue with that idea and ideal to do that. Now, another scenario that comes to mind, and this is a problem with a lot of our players too, is if this is a good pressure cover situation, even something like this, okay, and this player beats the player, I just don't understand this. If this player beats the player, you see there's a pressure cover. You see there's a possibility even here when you beat the player. Yes, you beat him here, you might open up some space with the ideal that we've talked about, but they are more ready for you here, and there's openings on the other side. It's, to me, it's gonna be lowering the percentage of the success of our attack. Does that make sense? Now, a situation could be different. Okay, situation could be different. If you see one guy to beat, this is a big point, and behind that guy is this space right here, then why not try that? I understand that if you want to take on one player and you see the space behind them, I get it. Go for it. We're not against that. We're not trying to stop you from dribbling. We just want you to stop dribbling when there is more than one player that is doing a pressure cover so well. They're waiting for you to beat this player so they can step into that gap if they're there, right? So recognize, so what we're trying to recognize is there's a pressure cover situation going on in here, then pass to somebody else. So you can keep the possession of the ball so you don't lose it so easily. Does that make sense? So the question can come. My player is marked. This guy is marked. Wait, we lost a player. Hold on, guys. I need to get that player back somehow. And unfortunately, you guys, okay, I got it. All right. So this player is marking this player is marking that player. Obviously, this player is marking here, right? So the idea with this, the question comes, so what do we do now? Obviously, if you have a drop, somebody else might see it better. But what if you don't have a drop? Yes, in this scenario, you can try to beat the player to open up space or give time to your teammate to be opening up better. But don't go try to beat the player in this scenario. Don't go try to beat the player to the center. Dribble to wide. Try to beat the player to the wide areas. So that's much more successful for your attack. Yes, if you take him on and beat him, of course, that's not bad. But if everybody's marked, and we are assuming there is a pressure cover going on in here too. By the way, I forgot that one. So in this case, make sure that you are being smart about where you dribble. You recognize this guy here. We want to dribble this way, beat the player, and hopefully the outside player is going to be backing up. And when he backs up, what does that mean? Outside back is going to go to him. That opens up space right here. So is the forward going to recognize that space and make a diagonal run to that space? He should, right? So when we start dribbling, it's not just because that player is trying to beat the player. Now I'm talking to the players without the ball. It's your cue that you need to give him an option. Maybe he's not passing it to you because you're not open. So give him something better. Make a movement. Like a lot of you guys like doing this standing and watching the player. This guy is doing some moves. You're like, okay, let's see what she got. Let's see what he got. No. You are a part of the play. Any play that he does or she does, you are a part of that. So you need to make sure that you continue reacting to his action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Dodgy.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, when we have a team that's man marking us heavy like that, wouldn't that be a scenario where we would want to be trying to check off the player to open up space for yourself and then have other people making runs?
Hold on, I'm trying to delete this thing. Okay. What was it again? Sorry.
So in the scenario, if we have a team that's man marking us heavy like that, wouldn't that be a scenario where you would want so let's say your wide player there would want to try to check off of their person that's defending them?
That's exactly what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is maybe she's not open. So that's why that's your cue. You're trying to hint them, I'm dribbling this way, open up for me. Or I'm dribbling, that's the wrong guy. Opening up, this guy opening up, right? But also I'm dribbling this way. Maybe this guy is making tight mark and giving you this space. So you just need to make sure you decide either you back up. This is 100% more successful, but this is also going to go and much more encouraged, right? So it's your cue. Your cue, some of you guys might not know what that is. It's just like, it's a sign for you to go. It's your warning. Like, hey, go open up for me, open up for me. You're not always going to be telling it, but your action, the fact that this guy is not passing the ball to you, maybe he doesn't see you open. So once he starts dribbling, please start giving options like this one, and this player is making a diagonal run this way. So we need to make sure that we give them those options. Does that make sense? Any questions, guys, about this? Please ask questions.
Yeah,
Dodgy, I want to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, Dodgy, you were saying when we decide to take on a player, right? 1v1, if we see that they already have a cover for that. The other instance, I know you were saying if we have a drop. So many times we have to know if we have somebody to drop or to cover for us if we lose that ball.
Exactly.
So don't go one-on-one with somebody if you don't have somebody to defend for you when you lose that ball.
That's a good point. So ideally, no one in the field should dribble the ball without somebody following them in our team. That's the ideal. Like, so even in this case, we only limited numbers. We have only 5 players, correct? So if this guy is dribbling, the closest person is the drop, correct? So this player slides to this area a little bit deeper. So when the pass comes to him, you can open the game, and that's going to see a lot more space here, right here, to be able to open the game. Bomb, bomb, and away, bomb, right? So the idea is whoever dribbles, if this guy is dribbling, the closest person is here, he slides, this guy goes here, this guy starts running maybe, this guy is checking maybe in this area. We just need to be making sure that we're sliding and we're being smart about how we handle it. Does that make sense?
Madison asked with that last scenario, with the previous scenario, so if the wide player did a through, where do you want the ball to go next?
You mean the player beat the player and sees the through right here? Like for this player to make a run here?
She says yes.
Okay, so like between them exactly. Because if you pass it close to goal, you're not recognizing there's a defender right here. So you need to pass that ball exactly between the two. So it's further from this guy and further from that guy, but it's in the running way of this player. Does that make sense? So a lot of players do this. Unfortunately, a lot of players do this mistake. They see, they're like, oh my God, this player is making a run this way. Like they see the space, right? They are like, oh, he's making a run here. He's going to score a goal. So automatically their response is, I'm going to pass it in front of him right here. But what do we always talk about? The 3 rules of passing. The player you're going to pass it to, the player who's possibly defending that pass, and the space, right? So in these 3 scenarios, in this area, of course, it's not the guy anymore. It's this guy that could get that pass. So we want to make sure that we keep that ball away from him to space right here. Does that make sense? I would say right here. Forget about that part. It's straight into that gap between the 2 players. So it's recognizing that space is critical. And a lot of us, we panic about this. And more you do this, it's going to be an instinct. So any questions other than that on this subject? Pro guys, anyone?
Maybe advice to the wide player, like you can check in close to the guy with the ball, and then the outside back thinks you're coming near, and then you make your run. Gives you more space.
Yeah, you can make a fake check. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Fake check is going to bring the player closer to you. That's going to open up more space. That's a good point. So if you're going to do a fake check, don't do it too long. Then you're not going to have the energy. Like, oh, I'm going to go this way and then I'm going to make it on. It's just not going to happen.
Usually it's just like 1 jab step.
Player comes, response, and you make a sudden run that way. That's a smart move for sure. Good question. Anybody else about the subject? I'm going to move it, guys. So tell me if you have a question now. Hey, and I would like
one other comment on that wide player. I think I see a lot of our players when that center mid is starting to dribble the ball wide to get away from that pressure. They're bringing it to the outside. The wide player wants to immediately run forward.
Right here.
and they're marked. They're behind the defender. They're running towards the defense and they're being more marked versus backing away
That's a
and
good
creating
point. So
space.
if this player is making a movement this way, it's splitting the defense. So you have one place here to go, and the two is diagonal to space between the two players. Most successful run. This run is just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, let me give you like two options. I am giving you $500,000 and I'm giving you $1 million and you go with 50 cents. This is what I see. Like, this is exactly what I see. You want the 50 cents. You want the least amount of success, least amount of money, least amount of, possibilities for yourself. Like, yes, we can give a pass long, high that way. But look, the options are so much more. This is, you backing up is meaning that we don't lose the ball. We keep possession. You making a run that way, you want to go score a goal or assist a goal. This is a 5-year plan. This is an immediate plan. And this is also maybe long-term plan, but at least you're keeping the possession for true. Does that make sense? All right, any questions about this? The ladies exist or they just joined in, just to be seen there.
There was another comment. It was, can this also work when CF switches with the wide player?
Who said that?
Center forward.
Yeah. Who said that though?
Yeah, I think that's in it.
Who was it?
I gotta go back.
Juan Figueroa.
Great question. So yes, if the center forward makes a run, that way we don't usually like that one that much because we like to keep our center forward in a finishing across area. This player is going to make the run. Yes, you can still do that kind of run. And this is a space that you could see, and or you can go all the way to the outside if the player is so close to the center, right? You see this here. But obviously, if this player is this wide, you guys can make a switch run. You can make a run here. Pass comes to between the two players, and the other player needs to be running inside. So when the cross comes, we have all these options. And when they're trying to defend our cross, we have all these options. We can cross to blind spot behind the defense, front post. Still, this guy can make a run in front of him and cut in the blind spot. Back post, obviously, or drop the ball to this player in a cross. Does that make sense? So that's a good question, but a little advanced for some of our younger players. We're not really introducing that as much right now for them, but it's a good one. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. This has been a problem for our players. Now we are in defense in red, and this has been a problem for us for sure. Okay, there's 2 center mids and 2 forwards. Let's go with this, and let's put this guy here. Now this is everybody and their dogs in Washington State plays a 4-4-2. So let's go with what we could be facing, right? So here is the issue with the 3-back defender system. Okay, I'm going to put this guy as an outside player, I might need one more, so I'm going to move you guys down here for a second. You guys don't see it, of course, but I'm center mid right here. So this has been a problem for us. This issue right here. Please pay attention. I want all the defenders to really pay attention to this. Now, if the center back is dribbling the ball to wide to see an option, is she or he dribbling the ball this way to see an option, you can go wide. And this player needs to go wider And this player needs to be in that through ball possibility right here if you're not open, right? The problem I see with this, and almost every practice I yell at the older guys, is this player is also open. So if this player is dribbling, if one forward is going to be stepping, trying to win the ball, right? The other one is going to be sliding that way at the moment as well. So if you lose this ball to this guy, there's going to be space for this player and that player to go score an easy goal. With the three-back system, especially, when this player is dribbling that way, opposite side, where I'm not looking, needs to be coming even deeper than this, right? And the other player, outside midfielder, needs to be sliding into the center as well. This player needs to be running to maybe possible triangle for the next play. If this player, let's just say he sees that this pressure is coming and he cuts the ball to the other side, now he starts to dribble it this way. Let's just say we start dribbling this way. Exact opposite, right? Now this guy is sprinting out, this guy is opening up, and we're backing up. Maybe goalie gives a drop option right here, and this guy is sprinting back, and this guy is sprinting back to here. Does that make sense? This is a big problem every practice, literally every practice. For the older guys, we yell at them because they fall asleep. It's funny because he gets the ball looking that way, this guy opens up for him, and that guy opens up for him. This is like heaven for these pressuring offensive players. Heaven. Absolutely, like, give me the ball so I can score without any pressure on me. We don't want that. We want to close those gaps, right? We want to make sure that if we do lose the ball, we are ready for it. We need to make sure we slide. So opposite side needs to be sliding when we have the ball. Do you realize we always covered in live sessions when the other team has the ball, and our shape needs to move depending on what they are doing. But now I'm showing you when we have the ball, you also need to do the same. Opposite side. Okay, so like if this guy has the ball, you need to be doing this, going wide, opening up, and this guy is going wide, opening up, and look at what happens. So because we're doing that, they're going to be responding to this, right? They're going to be coming this way. So what does that mean? This player needs to slide this way too, okay? So when I pass the ball to this player, bomb, and then you show up between the two players we're talking about, you get the ball, this player pressuring, and this player stepping to this player. What do we see next? Between the two players, maybe a forward shows up here, or the center mid shows up between them so we can open the game. And when this is happening, what do we do with our outside mid? Our outside mid going wide and sprinting that way. We are stepping up at this point because the ball is all the way up there and going back to our position. Now the left mid is sliding. This player is sliding, and we have a better shape to attack and start the attack and continue the transition. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Maybe so.
I have a question.
Okay.
So back when the defense and the center back has the ball deep in the box, which has happened quite a few times when we use the last third to run our training sessions, given that the center back doesn't utilize his drop immediately, which should happen more in the first place, where should the goalkeeper's positioning be if that center back gets pressured by those two attackers and gets a little uncomfortably close to the 6-yard box? Should the goalkeeper go wide, or should the goalkeeper stay
That's
in
a
the
good
goal?
question. So if you feel like there is a high pressure and this could be really risky because they're going to be really close to you, you want them to get rid of that ball. But if you have time and space, this player is not on it yet, you see that area, you go wide away from the goal and say drop, and now you can open the game better. Maybe even see that, oh, I sent the goalie. You see the ball to the player right away. Does that make sense? So
yeah, that makes sense.
The idea is you recognizing this is why our goalies need to be communicating more. Our goalie can see these things better. Okay, our goalie can see the pressure on him. Do you really want that ball coming back to you when this guy is, I mean, the blue is that close stepping to you?
No, especially if it's a bad pass, that will make it even worse.
Just go wide. Tell him to go wide. And he kicks it here even. This player will still make the ball before these guys can make it. They can get up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, guys, this is a problem with a lot of our plays. So let's just say a lot of times I see the center mids fighting, right? So we're almost out of time for this one, but when he looks at this way, he's about to pass the ball. The center mid needs to be seeing that and show up between the two players that we talked about. Before, not waiting for, okay, I get the ball. He's looking up now. Oh, yeah, I got to go now. It's too late. It's too late. So you need to be off the ball moving to this. So watch this now. So they are responding too, right? They're coming back here. Okay, they're coming back here. So when this guy gets the ball, this guy can check into this gap, right? And usually, like Jeff says, usually our guy is already taken off. He's gone. He's gone behind this guy. So when this guy steps into this player, we try to kick that ball to that player and they block it and we get a goal on us, right? Because we have that instinct, go forward. Oh, like that's not your job. You want to keep the ball and there's a player stepping to that gap. So you need to stay in an open position. Either you can make a diagonal run this way. That's one thing that we don't really talk about, but outside mids, if our center mid is being lazy and you see this gap yourself and he's not going for it, you can go to that gap. That's okay. You can feel that. Does that make sense? So, but I see this, a lot of these problems that our center mids are so lazy, they watch to play. We pass the ball to this player and they should be here already. Okay. Obviously, when this guy gets the ball, he's checking in. But if you can see this player is about to pass it to this player, what do we do next? The space. 1, 2, blue. Like blue is going to be stepping to the sky right away. So what do we see between two players? Right here. Bomb. Correct? So it's constantly, all you have to do is it's actually really simple. All you have to do is show up exactly between the two players. There's 2 different reasons we do that. One, it's far away from that player and far away from that player equal. 2, most of the time players expect who's going to step from each other. Especially if they're not a communicating team, right? They're going to be like, oh, did he get it? Am I going to go for it? Oh, it's too late. The balls are the gun. So it's critical that we understand finding the between the two players exactly and filling those gaps is critical. How many times I have the ball and training with you guys, I'm dribbling this way and there's a player coming with me and my forward is here. I'm about to pass it to this gap. 2 players, I see this gap right here and my forward is hiding behind the blue asking for the ball. He should show up here. This life gets much easier. All you have to do is 2-3 steps and you're opening to the open space right away. Does that make sense? We have about 4 minutes left. I have 2 more quick subjects to cover, so I might have to stop this and then start another one. Do you guys mind that real quick? Let's do it real quick because you know we have a time limit. I'm stopping this and we're starting another one. I'll share that with you guys in a second. Go get some water, go use the bathroom. We have 1 minute break and we'll be back. We'll be quick though. We're not going to be as long as this one, okay?